Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is Bird Dog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios,
Yep.
it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? We were just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's happening, everybody? I am indeed Bird Dog John. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for coming along for the ride today. We are looking forward to a good show, lots of stuff to cover, and as promised, as is in the title of today's show, I just realized I don't have my phone on me. I just realized in the title of today's show, we're going to try and reprogram my Xkeys device using the companion and vMix plugins that are available inside of the BitFocus companion app. And so we're going to take some time to do that. I do have a hard stop at 1 p.m., which gives us 2 hours essentially to sort this out. But I do need to stop at 1 p.m. And so we will get underway fairly soon in working through this. I want to check my audio over on YouTube. Okay, so that I can hear it on the other computer, which is the wrong place to check this. Let me check it on this machine. Sorry, we're fumbling through things. I didn't even remember my phone here today. So let me pull up the stream over on the Bird Dog channel, and let's see what things sound like. Oh, it's struggle bus in here. That's fun. It has yet to load. Well, I wonder what the deal is there. If you're watching this on YouTube, hopefully it's working for you. It says that I'm live, but it appears that my computer is having a DNS issue. So, all right, here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go run over and grab my phone. Let's do a quick little, what do I have here? Bumper or something. Let's see. It doesn't need to be long. So how long? This, the Flex commercial is 30 seconds. So here we go. All right, and we're all set here. So let's try this again. I did get my phone. Unorganized. So unprofessional. Why, why? Hey, it sounds pretty good on my phone. So that's good news. And it is working on YouTube, which is great. So glad to hear that that is real. Maybe I'll leave that up and running because you never know. You never know what you're going to run into. So I'll just pop that up here on my desk, and that's good. Okay, so what is going on, everybody? Hopefully you're doing well. Find yourself well today on a rainy Tuesday here in Auburn Hills. Brayton says, good morning, everyone. And unidentified LinkedIn user says, any chance this is recorded so we can go back later and watch it? I'm currently working and I'll have to miss parts. Yes, so the great thing is that you can see all of our recordings over on birddogjohn.tv. And this little... that's where everything that I do on this show gets recorded and gets saved there. So if you miss a show or there's content that you want to watch that I've done earlier, that is where you're going to check that out. So birddogjohn.tv, here's that other second overlay in vMix, which includes little QR codes. So if you want to scan that with your phone, then that's a good place to do that. And I feel like I should leave that overlay up a few extra seconds, because by the time you see that there's a QR code and register, oh, I could scan that with my camera, It's probably already gone. So let's do that real quick and change that overlay to be a slightly longer effect. Where do I do that in here? I can't even remember. Maybe it is in the. Oh, you know where it is? It's triggers, overlay, trigger on overlay in. Yeah, it's here. So the delay is 8,000, which is 8 seconds. So let's say 15,000. All right, let's try that again. Overlay 2 looks like this. And hey, if you scan that QR code, you'll be taken to my YouTube page, which is birddogjohn.tv. Try and make it convenient for people to access the content from the show and anything that we talk about here. I like that. That's a reasonable. It's a little bit longer, but it's because there's an action associated with that overlay that is possible. So that looks good on YouTube. Looks good in vMix. So I'm happy with that. So here, let me jump into the chat and make sure I'm following. Oh, what's going on, Pandorica? Good morning. How are you? It's good to see you. Beautiful night here in Perth. Beautiful midnight there in Perth, right? It's pretty late over there. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us all the way from Australia. That's pretty cool that you're hanging out with us. So here's the story, and I'll give a little backstory as to how this has all come about, and then I'll tell you about some other things that are in the works as well, which is kind of exciting. I was helping a church a couple of weeks ago, I guess a week and a half ago, set up a Blackmagic constellation. It's an ME2 HD constellation. Beautiful piece of equipment, works really well, does everything that they need it to do. And we were figuring out how are we going to control this. And so what I had them do is order an Xkeys 64, if you know what that is. And I'll just put that in here, Xkeys 64. Pretty cool piece of technology that why isn't that showing? Let's go to products. I want to show you this. Man, I do love me some Xkeys, and it's funny because I forget who it was. Oh, it was my my sister this week. Xkeys 60, sorry. My sister this week on a family call, she had said, yeah, the one thing that you know about John on his show is that he really likes his Xkeys device. And you know what? I'm not ashamed of that. I absolutely like my Xkeys device because it works really well and it's highly customizable. Now, there's lots of people that would say, "Oh, but you can do that with a Stream Deck." Hey, I have two of those as well. I have one of them here, and I gave another one that I had to one of the guys here in the office. I don't even know if he uses it, but it serves a purpose as well. I use that for a specific thing on this show. But the Xkeys is the thing that I govern all of vMix on. And the way I do that is I plug it in via USB to my computer, and then I set up shortcuts inside vMix, and it directly does all of those things that I want. When we were setting up the Blackmagic constellation, I pulled up various macro firmware. So I was trying just macros. I tried another piece of software I can't remember the name of, and then I stumbled upon that Companion actually had a Blackmagic plugin for, and Xkeys would talk to Companion directly as a USB device, which I thought was fascinating because that would make it a lot easier in terms of management. Plus, if I could figure it out, I could log in from wherever I am in the world and help them customize buttons or set new ones up or whatever, just by having Chrome remote access to that machine. So that was really neat in terms of now it's highly versatile and I can customize it from, I don't have to fly to Nashville every time they want a new button programmed. I can just do that over the internet. So started piecing through Companion and stumbled upon the fact that I could program the buttons in Companion to talk directly to the Xkeys device. And I'll show you today some ways to isolate and make it work really well with straight up Companion, and then we can go down that avenue because there's a lot of cool things. Just as I was working through it, it turns out, by the way, if you are interested in a Blackmagic constellation, turns out that it works extremely well. And I basically set up the 60 board to be exactly as they had it with their Blackmagic ATEM Studio, which was, basically like a control panel. So I set it up to basically be that, except it's like a third the size, and it does all the things that they could do on the other one, with the exception of, I think, like a little LCD screen or something like that. But we weren't using that. We weren't using that as a reference. We weren't using that for any purpose. But they had maxed out all of their inputs, and so I think the ATEM Studio gives you 4 HDMI, 4 SDI, or a combination of, I think there may be other models, but it gives you a combination of HDMI and SDI, but it maxes out at 8 inputs and 4 per each. And so inevitably you're going to have cameras that are SDI or HDMI, but you're going to have also a mishmash of other things that are coming across that you're either going to have to convert to probably SDI to utilize those SDI ports, or convert from SDI to HDMI to get them into the HDMI inputs. And it's a lot of cables, and it's a lot of boxes, and a lot of power, a lot of things that are kind of a nuisance. So we spent all day on a Saturday a couple weeks ago ripping out all of the old stuff and keeping what we needed. And there was like a ping pong table in the next room over, and we were just putting the cables and all the converters and all the boxes and stuff, the bulk that was their install, we were just piling that all onto their little ping pong table there. And the amount of stuff that we took out, we took out hundreds of feet of cable that they don't need. We took out probably a handful, 4 or 5 converters, a decimator. We took that out, one of them. They have a few, and they recently changed over their ProPresenter outputs to be SDI using a Duodec Link 2 card. They actually have 2 of them because they have redundancy built into these 2 machines that they're using. But we brought those over SDI, and so now key and fill are SDI, and there's a backup key and fill as well, which is really cool. And they're using stage display over SDI out of the Duodec Link 2 from ProPresenter. So that's really cool. And what I love about that, by the way, is that ProPresenter is no longer doing the graphics rendering for those outputs. Those are all being done on the Duodec Link 2. So the signals are being sent to the Blackmagic cards, but the actual rendering and sending those frames or converting them over to an output is all being done on an external box. And so you're offloading those processes and lowering the requirements of the ProPresenter machine, which is doing video and lyrics and, also transmitting over wireless for iPad control and like all this stuff, right? It alleviated the burden that ProPresenter was needing to generate basically on raw CPU and GPU power. Now, which is the outputs, the video elements are now being outputted through a external chassis, and for the audience doesn't notice. Right? This is the differentiation. The audience doesn't notice, but the technicians know that the workflow is a lot simpler and more straightforward. And so we were having issues with the Mac, for example, that runs the primary ProPresenter machine, the Mac crashing and needing to be restarted. Now, I haven't followed up with them about last week's production, but it wasn't the first thing they told me about last week's production. Actually, we haven't talked about that yet, so I don't even know if that was an issue, if they restarted or not. But I'm hoping that alleviating the rendering of the outputs and putting those through a Blackmagic card directly to SDI, and then SDI directly over to the the Blackmagic Constellation ME2, hoping that lightens the burden on the things actually, generating the graphics. So it's a very interesting kind of like evolution of stuff. And we took a whole bunch of stuff out of their system in terms of bulk, no longer needing. Everything's basically coming across raw SDI now, which has its advantages because you can run SDI cables a very long distance without degrading any signal. It is, again, it's a non-NDI installation, which is why I'm not talking about bringing it all across over NDI or even transmitting it over NDI. This is an SDI installation, and that's their camp. And as we know, Blackmagic doesn't do NDI yet. I don't know if that's in the future for them. I know they're doing 2110, which is kind of, you don't have to pick your camp, but you definitely have to invest in it. And so it's going to be a while for them to be rock solid with 2110 before they're going to look at other other AV over IP solutions, if that's on their roadmap or not. Anyway, so the Xkeys 60 is the one that we bought for this installation to control the Constellation, and this unit is actually an 80. I think that's the way you have to think about it. It's actually an 80, but it has deleted keys, and it's slightly cheaper than the 80. In hindsight, for $30, I probably should have just got them the 80, but it's slightly cheaper than the 80, and it is naturally broken up so that you can kind of emulate the way that Program and Preview work on other switching boards, so TriCasters or ATEM, the ATEM Studio, and that sort of thing, right? So they have like a row of buttons for Program and a row of buttons for Preview. And the way that I run vMix, for example, is, and the way my brain is wired in terms of this production stuff, and this is only preference, this is not gospel, is that I have a row of, I should show you this. Let's do this. So I have that's out of focus. My goodness. There we go. So I have you can't see my image here, but I have a row of preview, okay, and then a row of program. So if I want to change the program immediately to main camera, I press program 1, and it dumps it into the program and changes it back. So if I want to go back to that, that's program 5 is what I just pressed there to go back to the overhead camera, okay? So program cuts the camera right away. But when you're video switching, typically what you do is you call the camera to preview. So you put cam 1 in preview, which in vMix puts it over on the left side of the screen, and then we cut, and then it goes to, so you can call the shot, you make sure the shot looks good. You know, I know this shot is blurry, for example, before I cut to it. All right, it's out of focus. So there we go. Now it's back in focus. I don't know why it's in manual or autofocus, because it shouldn't be. But I can preview the shot before I switch to it. So if I want to go to the P4K shot, I make sure it's framed correctly, and then I cut over to it. Okay, that's how you would cut a show live or after the fact, for that matter. If you're doing multi-camera, you load it into preview. You make sure it looks good. If there's a problem, you say, "All right, cameraman, I'm coming to you next." So workflow, you'd say like, "Okay, Bob, coming to you next," and the cameraman knows that he's going live. But if all of a sudden he has a problem, well, you're previewing his shot, and if he has a problem, sometimes there comms involved, and they can say, "Hey, I have an issue, don't come to me," and you can switch off that and then cut to a third camera instead, right? So then we could cut to a third camera instead. But that's like the workflow. It's communication is the basis for talking to your cameraman, but you're watching and you're setting up, okay, we're going to go to camera 3, 2, 1, cut. And you can preview it, make sure it looks right, and then you cut over to it, depending on if you're doing cameras through music, if you're concerts, if you're doing worship, if you're doing speaking, keynotes, lectures, preaching, whatever it is that you're doing. A cameraman, a director or an executive producer, or whatever you want to call it, will typically follow cadence of what's happening on stage. And so they won't do a lot of cuts while somebody's giving a lecture, mostly because that wouldn't flow, that wouldn't help the viewer engage in the content that's being spoken. So you want to be sure, which is actually why I use a playlist, because it slow cuts through all 3 of my cameras, my main cameras, and it gives variety to the shot, but it's not very fast. You know, this shot stays for 1.5 minutes, and then I cut over to the second shot, which I believe is the P110 in order, is the P110, and that one stays for 25 seconds or so, 20, 25, 30 seconds, and then it comes back to this P200 main shot. And it cycles through the cameras, but gives a little bit of variety as you're watching the content of the show. So it's not just my talking head in the P200 constantly, but I can actually leverage using other cameras. Okay, now the out of focus P110 is driving me absolutely bonkers. So we're going to go over to the P110 web UI, and we're just going to change. Oh, I can do that right here. We're just going to turn off the autofocus, and then I'm going to manually dial this in, I think. Oh, I got to do it on the web UI. So I'm not watching the output of vMix right now. But what I will do is I will kill this for a moment so that we can watch together. And I got to go into the dashboard. I have noticed that when you click off of autofocus in Studio Monitor and then you try and, yeah, there it is, see? And then you try and adjust it in Studio Monitor, it doesn't work. And I might be on a beta firmware with this guy. I'm not 100% sure. But let's correct that. So inside of, let's kill the playlist real quick so you can, we don't click off of this. Inside the web UI, you're going to just go to cam control. And then we're going to go on camera control tab. Name the same thing. I don't know why. And we're going to say manual focus mode. All right. And then we're just going to tap on the in button until we go all the way, basically all the way in. So it's fully fuzzy. And then we're going to tap all the way out until we think we're dialing in. And we're actually going to go past the clearest I think it could be until I start to see it kind of go the other way, which is that shot right there. And then I'll click back a couple and dial it right in. So now I'm in manual. And I actually want to save this. So I'm going to click on camera. I'm going to go over to preset, click on camera, and say select preset, save, select preset 1, and save it as preset 1. So hopefully now when the camera reboots, it will go to this mode and lock in a manual focus. All right, so that is that. All right, let me jump into the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Not missing anything, which means either I'm having technical difficulties or nobody has anything to say about all this stuff that I'm talking about yet. All right, so we need to jump into customizing Companion and Xkeys and vMix. And this is new for me. I downloaded Companion on Thursday, but I purposefully did not do anything to prep. So this is an adventure in and of itself that we are both going to navigate through because I think that that's important to show that we too are real people and we should discover this together. So let's do that. I'm going to load up screen capture so that you guys can see my second screen. And then inside vMix, I'm going to pull up my desktop source, which is this one. Whoops. And I'm going to add my camera. All right, so let's cut over to that now. So here is, this is my giant desktop. And inside, it's my secondary monitor that's over here. Okay, Companion is a little app that you can download from a company called BitFocus. So if you just go to Google, type in BitFocus Companion, and hit enter, it'll probably be the first one that comes up on the Google list. Super easy, but you do need to have an account with them. It's free. Oh, playlist. You do need to have an account with them to actually have the to get the download. Okay, so you need to have an account, and that will give you the option to download Companion for whatever computer operating system you have. I believe there is a Windows. I'm sure there's a Windows version. There's a Mac version. I think there's a Linux version. So if you're using this on Linux, that may also be a possibility for you, which is great because it gives a lot of diversity. But I'm pretty sure there's that. Don't quote me on that, but go over there and check it out. All right, and then you download it, install a little program, and it opens as a SysTray app. Okay, so it's over by the little clock. At least in Windows, it runs as a clock. Now, on a Mac, it's on the top bar usually, but you run the app and it will it'll boot up, and it looks like this. This is the actual Companion app. Whoa, that was weird. This is the actual Companion app, and it's super nice because if you have multiple NICs in your machine, you can actually tell it to prioritize one over another. And in this instance, it doesn't really matter to me, but I have 3 connections to my network with this machine. I have the main Ethernet connection goes directly to the one network, which is my internet. And then I have 2 77 IP addresses, as you can see here. And those are my NDI networks. Those are my fiber connections that go from my Stream Dudes machine fiber card, which I put in, and directly into the 4250 switch, actually in a redundant in a redundant configuration. So one into one switch and one into another. And so if I lose connection or that's one of the switches reboots, I don't lose connection to half of my NDI studio configuration. So it's kind of nice that way. But one of the cool things that maybe I should show you is NDI naturally load balances. Okay. And what that means is that if you have multiple connections, Ethernet connections to the same network, it will try and put sources, take one source and put it there, put it on the first connection and take one source and put it on the other. So if it's connected to the same subnet, NDI actually is programmed to do this, I've been told, which is true here because we can see that both fiber 1 and fiber 2, fiber 1, which is this guy here, and fiber 2 are relatively the same. We don't have 500 megs on one and 50 on another. We have 250 on one and 380 on another. And I'm pulling in various streams. Looks like I've got Studio Monitor open, so let me close that real quick. And we should see one of them drop. Oh, look. Fiber 2 just went from 380 to 250. So we know that Studio Monitor was operating on fiber 2. But look how it's loaded, right? Like they're pretty much identical. I'm doing 500 megs on my NDI network and on my in-studio network, and the card seems to be load balancing with the help of NDI. So that's really neat. That's actually a thing. Major benefit, by the way. Major benefit of doing NDI and having multiple NIC connections is that it will load balance and you don't really need to program it. I mean, it's good to know. It's good to watch and follow along, but you don't really need to know. And I think that that's a major, major advantage for the consumer that does it for you naturally. So really neat there. Okay, so this is the companion app, and what it basically does, it just kind of opens by default, and it picks the things that it thinks you want. Okay, but the things to take note of here is if you're on a restricted network and you're using ports, like ports have to be opened and closed, you're going to probably have to tell the IT department that you need a specific port open. Now, 8080 is a really common one. 8000 is by default a really common port. And so this may probably work as is unless you have a really restrictive network. So you don't have to worry too much about the port, but that's what that 8000 number is. You can pick, so say I have an internet-only network and I have a network that's interfacing with all of my cameras and devices, then we probably want to pick the NDI network, and I'm going to do that. The reason why I really like Companion is, and I've had a fair bit of experience with Companion, I'll talk about that in a minute, but a reason I like Companion is you can bring in multiple modules and they all can talk on the same interface, right? So you can bring in vMix commands, you can bring in BirdDog preset recalls, you can bring in Blackmagic ATEM commands. They can all reside on the same device. And so that makes getting something like an Xkeys, the big one, the 80 or the 124 or whatever it is, that makes that a lot more practical. But now the 124 is like $500. And if anybody from Xkeys is watching and wants to do me a solid, if I could have some sort of discount, that'd be amazing, because I would use it all the time because I'm falling in love with Xkeys all over again. But the beautiful thing is that you can have all of those different modules on the same panel. Okay. Whereas the way that I have it programmed right now, where my Xkeys is talking to shortcuts in vMix, that's basically exclusive to being used in vMix. So you see that there may be restrictions in vMix. In Companion, we're going to find out that like certain things are not available in Companion for vMix module as they are for shortcuts inside vMix. So there's that. Now, so we have to pick our interface, and I'm just going to pick 17 because that's what we were already on. But first things first, I need to go into vMix and I need to do something super scary and delete all of my shortcuts. And so, yeah, this is kind of nerve-wracking. Inside of vMix, I have shortcuts that are MIDI notes. Okay, that's how Xkeys comes across when you say add. I can do this for you. You say add, and then you say find key, and you press a key. Okay, it finds MIDI note channel 1, note 26. And if I hit OK, it remembers that button that I pressed on my Xkeys. Kind of a cool thing. And then you can just tell it what function you want to do. And you pick thousands of functions, it looks like, from here, and set up your input, whichever you need, give it a name, and hit OK. And that's how you program a MIDI file. Now, you can see that I've done this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to delete all of these, but I am going to save as in vMix. I'm going to say save as and title the vMix profile as the same as my current one, except no shortcuts. And that way, when I hit save at the end of today's show, it doesn't overwrite the original, and I can always recall the original file. So no harm, no foul. But now, none of these Xkeys buttons work, which means that it's going to kind of be like, now I got to do everything via mouse, which is annoying. But now none of these work. Yeah? Even the audio button? Yeah, the audio button doesn't mute anymore, which we have to have that. Fade, cut, none of this stuff is here. Oh, one of them just changed. Hang on. This button works, which is, I think, that last one that was, it calls it. Okay, so yeah, this button right here is working. And what that is that last shortcut that I left. I shouldn't have done that. So let's go to settings. And we're going to go to shortcuts. Yeah, and I left one there. I must have named it. And that's why it's there. Okay, boom, boom. Preview input 1. Okay, so now that button doesn't do anything. Okay, good. All right, so let's cut between the two here. Did I put a cut on here? No, this is now exclusively. This is just exclusively sound effects on my Stream Deck. All right, cool. So Xkeys is empty. Now, I know what buttons I need to program because I have them all labeled. All right. So if I go back here, I don't know if you can see this, but these are, you can see clear tape on here, and they're each labeled what I want them to do. So that was like a craft, like a cut and paste job that I had to do. It was very strange. But I got the labels, clear labels, and then the lights underneath, and we can load that in. We can load that later. All right, so let's go over to the desktop. And we are going to launch the web UI. So we're going to click launch web UI, and that opens up Chrome, which is here. And now I got to turn my neck here to participate with you. So what we can do, I want to delete this. I want to show you how to do this. So Companion will come preloaded with a bunch of modules already. And the first thing we want to do is make sure that our Xkeys is talking to Companion. And there's a couple of things inside these settings that we want to talk through. So I'm going to go over to settings first, and I want to say watch for new USB devices. This is on by default because Companion works with Stream Deck pretty much exclusively, but not exclusive. Excuse me, not exclusively, but pretty much. That's what a lot of people use it for. So Stream Decks, connect to Stream Decks that are on your system. Well, I don't want to do that because I have a Stream Deck here that's running inside Stream Deck software, and I don't want cross commands to happen, right? So I don't want to connect to Stream Decks. Enable Xkeys. So we're going to say yes, enable Xkeys because I have an Xkeys. And enable loop decks? No. Do you want to add a pin for lockout? All that stuff? No, 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 no. Look at all this. This is all fine. But you want to go, look, Xkeys gets its own line. Isn't that cool? Like they're actually integrating this just like Stream Deck. So check for Xkeys. We say, yes, please. All right, then we want to go to surfaces. And you see I have an emulator here. I'm actually going to dump that. And we'll add that back later. But now I want to rescan USB devices. And there's an Xkeys 24 that it's found. So really cool there. Great. And now we can go to connections, because this is now what modules do you want to talk to, as we set this up, which modules do you want to participate? So now in the actual repository of companion, look at this. There's actually a Bird Dog module for PTZ, for converters, for Central. Okay. And then Blackbird is not ours. So let's eliminate. Here are the Bird Dog offerings. Somebody made these, not Bird Dog, by the way. So if you got a problem with it, take it up with them, not us. Just kidding. You can ask us. We'll certainly try and help you. Help at birddog.tv. But yeah, we didn't make these. And then, but there's also a vMix module. And the easiest way to do this is you just add it. Okay. It's going to ask you for the configuration. Now, if I was designing this on a third-party computer, but I wanted it to control this vMix, I would need to put in the IP address of this computer, which also means then this IP address needs to stay the same. DHCP reservation lists are your friend. So we would put in the target host, and typically the TC port is by default. So unless you have a restrictive network and that port's not going to be open, you don't have to monkey with that, all right? We do want to enable connection error logs, because if we have errors that come back, we want to check the error log and see what the problem is. We do want to enable that. I don't have a T-bar on my Xkeys device. Some of them come with it natively, and I believe you can buy them as modules. I don't have a T-bar, and so we don't have to do anything with that today. But it integrates with it, evidently, so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
And the rest of this, yes, we want to leave a preview and program link, feedback from companion to the Xkeys, which is helpful. And I'm going to hit save on this. Now, the way that you know you've done this correctly is that you get a green check mark, which means that companion is talking and sees vMix on your computer. Okay, so yes, it has made the connection. I can also show you this. Let's just do this with the P200 as well. So BirdDog PTZ, we're going to add this. This one, it doesn't obviously exactly know which is which. So if I open, So if I open just a second page here and say BirdDog Studio P200.local, the dashboard is going to tell me that the IP address is 77.12. So I'm going to go back to here, 77.12, BirdDog model. Oh, I can even put in this precise model. This is a P200 A2 A3. That's nice that they even have the different model menu. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat. Look, connected and working correctly. We have a checkbox, which means that whatever check it's doing, it sees that the camera is there. And now I have that option. And I want to show you the two different modules, because you're going to see that in the next step, why you want to add all the modules that you want to control before beginning. I also wonder, well, I know that there are Midas control. Oh. Seriously? Okay, cool. Very cool. I was hoping that they would have Euphoria controls, like, because the Euphoria 404 HD is my choice of interface, USB interface for my microphone and power and phantom power and all that stuff. So, yes, I run a Behringer device to bring in my audio for the show. It is not something that's offered here, evidently under Behringer, but that's okay. I was just curious. But then I just stumbled upon there's X32 and M32 module controls for companion, and that just blew my mind. All right, so I should look through this list. I'm not going to do it now, but I will look through this list because I might be surprised as to what modules are available, and we'll want to do that. Now, forgive me, I have been ignoring the chat. So here we go. NDI load balancing is great unless you are also using Dante. Shouldn't your Dante network be on a separate subnet? Tell me more about that problem, because let's walk through that. I think in my brain, I guess I never thought that would be an issue unless they're on the same subnet. Yes, then that would be an issue. One thing that elevates Stream Deck, speaking as someone who doesn't have one, is the dynamic LCD key image. Now, I agree with that. But I think that's where the advantages end. I mean, it's pretty. It's a pretty device. I will give you that. but I don't find it superior. And I own both. I like that it's really easy to customize, especially bringing in like sound effects, but I'm sure I could do that with an Xkeys. The problem with the Xkeys is it's too small. I need a big one to do all this. So yeah, it works great for what I need it for. And I have used it in many configurations. The Stream Deck, I've used that in many configurations, but I don't find it to be superior, which is interesting. Like, it surprised me because I thought when I bought it, oh man, I won't have any use for the Xkeys anymore. And here I am doing a whole segment on my love affair with the Xkeys. So, all right, we have added in now 2 modules. They're totally different. One communicates to vMix, one communicates to a camera, okay? Now, here's something interesting that I just noticed. The P200 communication light is now blinking. After I added that, I'm getting a green and then a yellow intermittent communication, which is something talking to the camera. That's what that means, is that it's being given commands. It turns yellow, for example, when you steer it in Studio Monitor. When you drive the camera around in Studio Monitor, or you connect to it with a keyboard and start steering it, the communication light turns yellow. But I'm watching it blink at me right now fairly regularly yellow, which means that something is communicating with it, and that just started when I connected Companion to it. So, hey, heads up. There's something I learned, and maybe you didn't know either. So we're going to click on buttons. That's the next piece we're going to do. And here I want to just completely delete this whole page, wipe the page, because we don't need any of that stuff. And this is what it looks like starting out, all right? When you first start. Now, the resolution on this screen is wonky because, first of all, it's a giant TV, but also I want to make it big enough so that you guys can see it. And so some of this PAG, that actually says page, okay? It will look normal on your screen. It'll actually probably look a little nicer on your screen, but you know, we have some whatever's issues here. So let's dive into the vMix module. It looks like it was made by Studio Coast or for Studio Coast. If you click on that button, it gives you basically all the preset options that you might need. Now, here's the thing about integrating an Xkeys with Companion. You'll notice that the button configuration section looks a lot like a Stream Deck, and it's actually the big one, right? So what is that one, like 32 buttons or something like that? I have the 15, so it's either 24 or 32. I can't remember, but it's a huge stream. The thing is massive. Well, that's what that is. I mean, it's a 1-to-1 direct correlation. What you have to remember here is with Xkeys, the default configuration is in landscape, okay? And it is with, from top to bottom, I believe, well, we'll find out, I guess, is with the LED light on the right-hand side. So let me show you my overhead again. Oh yeah, I got to do all this manually because it took all my stuff away. So what I'm talking about here is this, okay? And it would be turned like this. And then this is button 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, inside of Companion, these buttons are known as 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. Okay, that's important. 1.7, 1.8, and so on. I have mine in vertical configuration, so I have to remember that when I am doing the programming of the buttons, I need to be programming it in landscape, and also the buttons that are here, okay, right here, this is button 1.7 on the Stream Deck, but 1.7 is actually second row first button for me on the Xkeys, okay? That was the big tricky piece. If you're using the Xkeys 60, which is what I found out last time I was doing this, the buttons that have been blanked out are still considered buttons, which throws you for a loop because you basically lose a whole row on the 60 and in terms of sequence, and so you have to skip those inside of Companion. It's very confusing. And so it took a lot of trial and error. And unfortunately, there's no way to say identify, or maybe there is, I don't know, but identify this button on my Xkeys. So, and I'm actually going to delete these two because I don't need these button indicators, any of that. I don't need pages. That's not how this is going to work. So I wish there was a way, maybe I could say regular button, and then I could say feedback, and I could say actions maybe. No, feedback. I just want to like light it up. Oh, hang on. Whoopsie. Somebody just buzzed my phone and it made it fall over. Actually, it did light it. Right? It lit that button, which I thought, oh. Well, this is a fascinating discovery. Let's go over to, if that's button 1, let's find out, I guess. So that's 1.1. Is the button top left in the orientation that I have it in. So if I create a button on button 2 and I say color, oh, I was wrong. Button 2, why is that? Is there a place in surfaces to change the orientation? Emulate button, start page, start up last. No. To change the orientation. So I'm going to call this BDJ, Bird Dog John's Xkeys. And, well, that is very fascinating. Because let's look again, folks, at this little, where am I here? Here we go. If I show you this now, look, buttons 1 and 2 across the top, which makes sense because this little LED indicator is programmable, first of all, but the little LED indicator is top left. So that is very fascinating, which means that this is 1.5, I'm sorry, 1.1, 1.5, 1.9, 1.13, 1.17? Okay, cool. Let's keep going. I'm just solidifying things in my brain. There is one other thing that I want to touch on here with surfaces is the illuminate pressed buttons. That might be an interesting option once we get everything pressed. But there is a place, there's like an indicator. Where is it? Settings. There's like an indicator light option somewhere that I stumbled across last time. And you can program that as well. So that when you press the button, it lights up the little red light that's underneath the, man, I keep forgetting that you guys can't see this. It lights up that little red light that's underneath. If you press the button, it lights it up. And it might be on the individual, but we'll see. It might be on the individual, but we'll check that out. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to re-add my camera. Yeah, I'm going to re-add my camera to the overhead shot so that when I'm here, I can still talk to you guys. All right. I will, let me take a peek at the chat, make sure I'm not. Can you put text to display on the keys? You can put, rephrase that. Do you mean, if I press a button, can it show text? Is that what you mean? Because I do believe that's possible. But do you mean, like Xkeys obviously is just a physical button, whereas Stream Deck is LCD screens that you can customize the text on it and change it and all that stuff. But again, it's the LCD screen is kind of the uniqueness of the Stream Deck in terms of versatility. I don't actually find it that much versatile. that much more versatile than before. Okay, so let's get back to programming these. I'm going to dump this key, and let's delete clear. And actually, no, I don't want to do that. And delete this one, clear. Okay, so button 1, we want to go to our presets, and this will show us our connections that we've had inside of that we made in Companion earlier, right? We're going to click on buttons, presets, and it's going to say, well, here are the 2 modules that you have connected successfully. If you're connecting multiple cameras, by the way, you may want to change this to like which camera it is. So I only have one P200 here in the office, in the studio, and so if now when I go to buttons and I hit presets, it should say BirdDog PTZ P200. It'll tell me which camera it is. So that's helpful. But I'm only running one vMix version, at least for today's purposes. I'm only running one copy of vMix. So we'll put it there. There is a text section where you are selecting color. Okay, let's get back to that then. So let's go to, let's start walking through. So button 1.1 would have been preview 6, okay? But I don't actually want to do button 1. I want to do my preview 1. So we're going to have to count. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So button 1.21 is going to be the one that we want to look for. And thankfully, it's all going to be on the same page. So 1.21 is going to be this guy. All right? vMix. And let's go and look for not general. That's cool though. Outputs? Nope. Mix 1, preview 1. And so if I put this on 21 and I open, well, let's light this. Yep, that is the correct one. So let's just make that black, I guess, for now. So off. I want to say input 1. These are mixes. Send input to preview. Well, which input is it, I wonder? Let's find out. Let's see if it tells us. It says question mark. I'm not too sure what that deal is. Well, if we press it, let me go over to vMix and I'll tell you what happens. Oh. Okay, cool. So inside vMix, all of your inputs are numbered. And it pulled up the P4K, all right, which used to be input 1 because that was my primary camera for a long time. So when I clicked that button, it put input 1 in preview. Cool. So my P200 is actually input 25. So instead of that, can I say input 25? And now if I do that, P200. All right, cool. So that is fun. This is coming together. It's all coming together. So in here now, I don't care about the background color on like the tally information. I actually don't care about that. So let's delete this because that would just show me here like on the emulator. What I want to do though here is add a feedback, browse feedback, and is there like anything for lights? Is there anything for, well, let's go back then because maybe I'm doing that wrong. Edit button, actions, and top bar. I don't know what that is. What is top bar? Somebody help me out. What I want to do is when I press that button, I want that button to light up on my Xkeys. And so we'll sort that out in a second. So preview 1, is now programmed. So let's do the same for the previous. So 4, 8, 12, 16. So button 117 is going to be preview 2. So we're going to go back to presets, vMix, mix 1, and well, we're going to customize this. So 1.17, which is over here. All right, and this is going to be preview 2. But the input is going to be camera 2, which is my P110. Okay? And now if I press that, 110 shows up in the preview monitor. I can confirm. Okay, so that's great. So let's keep going. So 4, 8, 12. So 1.13 is going to be number 3. So 1.13, and that is this right here. And that is input 3, so this should be working. Now that's overhead. And actually, I want that to be my P4K. So instead of that, I'm going to change that to input 1. But I'm going to leave the title preview 3 because that's what it is on my Xkeys, okay? So now that brings up my P4K. Okay? So good. Now let's go to it's cool that the tally information is kind of showing on this. I might actually return that function to here. What do we do here? vMix tally preview state. I don't know why it's showing it in preview unless I have it open. No, I don't have it open in Studio Monitor. So layer tally indicator is full background. This, though, is input 25. That's why. So now when I press that, boom, very cool. All right, so preview 2 is not programmed, I guess, to do the same thing. Which maybe I did. Did I delete it? Oh, that's why, because I need to change this here. So input 2, there we go. So now when I go through here, I kind of like that better. Now when I go through, you have to change it on the feedback as well, though it doesn't follow along. When you change the input here, it doesn't change it on feedback. So you need to change it. That makes sense, I guess. It's annoying, but that makes sense. So if I go 1, 2, 3, it shows me at least inside Companion, which might be helpful when we're, troubleshooting things. Might be helpful to know which buttons are being pressed. All right, so let's steady on here and go to presets again. So 489, so 1.9 is going to be preview 4, and that's my overhead camera. Okay, so preview 4 is going to be on 9, which is over here. And this overhead camera is input 3, which means that we need to change this to 3. And we need to change this to 3. And now we press that button, and the overhead camera is there. Now, before we go any further, let's program the last 2 buttons. So 23 and 24 is fade and cut for me, okay? So I wanted to use those right away, and I should have done those first, honestly. But here we go. We're going to do transitions. And there are fade and cut right there, right? So we're going to say 23 and 24. So 23 is here and 24 is here. So cut, boom, fade. Oh yeah, all set up. This is pretty stinking cool. All right, so cut and fade are done, good to go. But is there any way to provide feedback? And that's the question, right? That's what we want to try and figure out here, is getting feedback. It says add feedback. Internal button when pushed. Say done. What am I doing here? Oh, fade. Oh. Interesting. Not too sure I find it particularly helpful because it doesn't stay on. Or maybe it should be delayed or something. When I press fade now, it shows a red light when I press it, which is nice. It gives a little feedback if I'm operating in. I guess I'll never be operating in a darker studio. But if you were in a production booth and you needed to see that would be a handy little feature to have. Let's do ourselves a favor, and change it to blue though. Ooh, it shows both. That's interesting. So you can see maybe quickly, you see it light up there. So that's nice. That's nice. I that word. That's a bad word, but pick something better than nice, John. Come on. Let's do the same thing here though with feedback. We're going to change and just add when pushed. And let's change it to blue. I like that a lot better. So now we cut over. Wow, that cut was fast. Let's do the same thing here. Feedback. When you use this color wheel, it includes both lights. But when you pick a blue from this list, it then is exclusively blue. So if I show you this here, see, it's just a blue light. And the Xkeys has red and blue, at least the 24 has red and blue LEDs. So that's handy. Okay, so we've got let's cut back over here now. So we've got preview 1, 2, 3, and 4, and fade and cut are done. Now we're going to do 5 and 6. And so 5 is my desktop view, the one that I keep cutting over to. All right, so this button right here. So this is going to be button 5, 1.5. So let's go over to presets, studio vMix, here we go, preview 5, and that's going to be, I'm sorry. Yeah, input, everything is input 5, preview 5, 1.5. That's the only time those stars will probably align, folks. So now I load that, which it is actually in preview. Why is preview 1 on? Oh, you know why? Because my P200 is also layered on this shot. Fascinating. So it shows all of them. Very cool. All right, I understand. There's a phrase I don't say too often. All right, so we got preview 5 is done. And now button number 1 is preview 6. Now, what was that? Because I've got all of my inputs, and so it's got to be some, maybe, did I even have preview 6 programmed? What do we think it was? Maybe it wasn't programmed. Let me think about it, because I don't know what I was using program. Maybe I wasn't using program 6. Okay, well, let's pass on that for now. Okay, so let's go to program, which are down here. Now, program, let's see, what is the camera order again? P4K. P4K is input 1. So that would be program 1, essentially, right? So P4K is on, that's going to be sorry, it's going to be 4, 8, 10, right? I'm sorry, no, 4, 8, 12, 13, 14. It's going to be 14 is going to bring up P4K. So I wonder if I put this here, it worked, because that's input 1, which is what my, the P4K is on input 1 in vMix. And so program 1, if I drop that onto button number 14, that will show input 1. So let's try that with input 2. So that's going to be 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 1.18. So if we get program 2, which is the 110, onto 18, and I press that button, P110. Here's something
How neat is that?
Here's something pretty neat. If we go back to my overhead shot here, and interesting. Okay, so if I go to the overhead shot, the buttons are now responding to feedback. So if I need to figure out how to do it with preview, because that would be cool. But when I put things in program 4 and 3 and I called those cameras, it lights them up red, like red is dead on the actual. I don't know if you can see. Oh, you can't see that because that's a terrible shot. Harry, you're alive and you're a horrible shot. Let's set this one up because this would be obviously the one to help you understand what it is I'm up to. So let's do program 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 22 is program 1. And that is number 25. So we got to customize that one. So 25 is this button here. We're going to call this program 25. And we're going to do input 25. And we're going to say feedback 25. And I want to see, it says tally program state. And so on the preview ones, I want to do tally preview state. And I'm going to light those ones up blue. And I'm going to light up the other ones red. Okay, so let's test it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did that not work? Program input 25. Mix 1. Did I not change it on actions? Maybe I didn't change it on actions. 25, mix 1. Send input to program. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21, 22. Oh, I put it on the wrong button. That's why. So let's copy. Let's move. Move. Hey-oh. That's the one. And now maybe you can see it. The program 1, which is that one we just programmed, is lit up red because the tally feedback light says to send it red. And we can see also, oh shoot, the program button background inside companion is also red. So red is dead, everybody. Red is dead. It's your hunting safety and executive production know-how tip of the day. Let me try that again. It is your gun safety and production know-how tip of the day. All right, so let's keep soldiering on here. We've got a few more things to do. I've got preview 1 and program 1 done. I've got preview 2 and program 2 done. I've got preview 3 and program 3 done. I've got preview 4 and not program 4 done. Okay, cool. So that's our next one to do. This is going to be button number 4, 8, 9, 10. So we do mix 1, and it could be anything. But what is this is number 5. So this guy on to number 10. So that's here. And if I press that, that does not put my... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's the wrong input. I wanted that to be number 3. This one. So like this. Yes. So that's good. And yeah, perfect. Also, kind of cool is when you cut over, that tally light follows on Xkeys. That's super helpful. And something I didn't do on my install the last time I was there. Whoa, this is all off center. Sorry, folks. So something I didn't do on my last install, which I will correct when I return. All right, I know I've been neglecting you guys in the chat, so let me go in here and do that for you. Text box to the left of color, does that allow LCD text? No, because Xkey is not LCD, but I'm assuming, I'm sorry, but with Stream Deck for companion, so if you connect your Stream Deck to it, yes, this text here that's on the buttons on the screen, and I realize that now I'm not talking to you. Here we go. The text that's here, is the text that shows up on the button. So I can say like Joe smells, and then that's the Joe smells button. Okay. So what you type here is what appears on your Stream Deck. So it's nice to have that like customize option. I also would like this to be all caps because I'm like that. So Got it. So the next thing that we want to do is, that's my overhead. So I can now cut between these. So critical one is program 5, because that is this one. So let's get program 5 done. We're going to say presets again. Okay, vMix, mixes, program 5, and this is going to be button number 6. Okay, so that's here. And if I press it, oh, hang on. That's preview. Preview, right? We got to do program 6. Mix program 5 on 1.6. There we go. So now if I cut over to my main camera and then I want to cut this to the desktop, it works just fine. So that is good news. I'm going to leave it like this. Okay. Coming together. And 6 I'm going to leave blank. All right, now I've got my transitions. I've got all of my my camera angles cut and ready to go. Now I want to do the overlays. Now I have 3 overlays. The first one is not programmed. The first one looks like this, and it's just a little thing to promote the channel, show what where to find me. The second one is the one with the QR code that we talked about earlier. It's this one. Okay. The third one I'm using actually as a clock. And for testing purposes here in the studio and at Bird Dog Support, we like to run a clock on screen at all times. And so it's actually this. And this has many uses. We can talk about this another day if you're interested in this. But basically, having a running clock on the screen is super helpful. We're already at 12:15, and wow, this has been quite the day. So having a running clock is super helpful. That's what my overlay 3 is. Well, on these buttons on the actual Xkeys, I've got overlay 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, overlay 4 is going to be removed, and I can show you actually how to do that because we're going to give it a different function. So you take the lid off of the X key, and you can even pull the button out. So we're going to take a sharp object with a flat blade, and you just pop them off. And so if you want to customize them for whatever reason, you can do that. Now I'm turning this button into an audio mute and unmute button. And one of them, this button particularly, will be a mute button. The other one will be a fade up button. And I'll explain some of that in a minute as to why I program the show the way that I do. I actually, now that I think about it, I might do a fade down of, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Fade up and fade down of music, because the buttons up here, this is audio on off toggle, and the face just fell off of it. And this button here is to record inside vMix. It's my, when we're doing tutorials and that sort of thing for raw video, I want to add I want to have the full data file to upload that to YouTube for full quality. Streaming it like this, sorry, I shouldn't have pointed my knife at you. Streaming it like this is fine, but there's some compression and stuff that happens. So, all right. So the next buttons that we want to program are going to be the overlay buttons, and so this is going to be 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19. 1.19 is overlay 1. So let's try and find that, because I haven't seen. Overlays. Look at that. So overlay 1, 1.19, and I want to program overlay that. Boom. So now when I press program overlay, does it fire that? It sure does not. So let's do overlay 1 in instead. Let's see if that works. Do I have the wrong button? 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, overlay 1. Do I need to link it? Transition overlay 1 on program. Nothing. Nothing yet. So let's go back and let's just dump this. 1.19, right? Presets, vMix, overlays, program 1. Let's try this one. This one says toggle overlay 1 on program. So yes, that's what I want. I'm missing something here. Oh, input. Is it an input? It is an input. That's why. So this is input 31. So now if I do this, hey-oh, input 31 on. All right. And then will it transition off on its own? It does, and it turns off. So the tally light comes on for the overlay, which is handy. And then when it clears it, which I have it set up on a timer, it turns off the tally light on the Xkeys. So fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted to see. All right, so then the other overlays, so that we're going to do overlay 2, so 4, 8, 12, 12, 13, 14, 15 overlays. Program 2 on 15, which is here. And this is input number 32. And while we're at it, we're going to go presets, vMix, overlays. Number 3 is going to be 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's this guy. And this overlay, which is not in the right group in vMix for some reason, I'm not too sure why. It should be in the lower thirds category. Let's do that real quick while I'm at it. General, lower thirds, close. Okay, this is input number 33. So we'll put input 33. All right, so now when I hit overlay 2, boom. And if I hit overlay 3, the timer comes up. Now, overlay 2 is on a timer of 15 seconds. Overlay 3 is not on a timer. So I have to hit that myself to turn that off. But overlay 2 should go away all on its own. And the tally light turns off. Stinking awesome. All right, so the next is the music. Okay, so we have a VLC running out my whole playlist for the music before and after the show. And that is on at all times. So I can actually play that at any time. It wasn't an accident, by the way. I can play that at any time. But what I want to do is I want input 6, which is my VLC music input. I want that to fade up and down. So let's see if we have that as an option. So vMix audio is what I'm looking for. I want to, oh good, there's the toggle. So that's what we want to do. And set audio on, set audio off, I think. So audio on will be button 3. And let's see, this should be input number, what did I say? 6? Yes. Input 6, option. Now the only problem is it's not a fade. I want to gradually, so that's not the action I want, I don't think. vMix. Is there a way to search? Right? Like I want to, maybe it's under transitions. Fade. So what did I say? 7? Or no, 3. Fade. Six? I don't know. I don't think that's right. Transition preview to program using, no, this is a transition action. That's not what I want. So let's delete that. Clear presets. General. Now, what I could do is set this up as a script and run the script. So I'm not out of luck if they don't have this. But it would be amazing if we could transition on one. Is there an there's got to be an option here. Just look in audio one more time. Toggle audio. increase volume by 25%. Is this a gradual? Because my increase, fade to volume. Is this what I want? Okay. Mission accomplished. So let's slow that down a bit, and it's also only supposed to go to 45. I'm going to do this to 4,000, I believe, and we're going to test. Okay, so that's working, and also we're going to do button 7 for the same thing, but essentially audio decrease, right? So volume to 0. Same input, fade to 0, same time, and Bob's your uncle. So now we do a full test. Giggity goo, everybody. Giggity goo. So that's fun. Now, all right, so we got all 3 overlays. We've got the audio, the music up and down. I have 4 more buttons to go and about 10 minutes to do it. So let's see if we can make this happen. All right, so button number 4 is the toggle. I know that that's in here because we saw that already. The audio toggle, and that is this button right here. And that is input number 4, which is my microphone. Now I'm getting feedback. No. Okay, so the light is just on, but I can definitely toggle the audio, right? So that is cool. Now, the question I have about the feedback is audio live color green? No, audio live color blue. So, no, that did not change anything. If we do this, it looks like it's only the muted. That doesn't change. So I'm sure it changes inside Stream Deck, but it doesn't actually change. It doesn't actually change on the Xkeys. It's basically just a light. So what if we just said none? Nope, still blue. Sorry, I brought the music up by accident. Where the other, it's blue all the time. And maybe it thinks it's muted. Live input decibel value? What is this crap? Get rid of this. I don't need that. Oh, hang on. Wait. No. Oh, feedback. Input 6, right? Input 4. Here we go. Input 4. There we go. So input 4. Now it follows. Okay, so question is, live should be red, right? Right? Should be red. Red is dead. And off is blue. And now that works. So cool. So stinking cool. Well done, everybody. All right, so red is dead. Now it tells me on the Xkeys if the audio's muted or not. Who would have thought? Man, genius. All right, let's get back to this. Now we want to find maybe it's a vMix function, toggle recording. That's the one. This is button number 8. This is button number 8, and 8 is great. So the question here is, what do I have to tell it? Stop, start. And what's its feedback? Status, background color, stream value, all, I guess. All right, I'm going to start the recorder. Hopefully this doesn't just dump my whole system here. But if we start the recorder, that did not start the recorder. Okay, cool. So start recording, status, recording. And stop recording. Oh, it's recording. What? And that stops. Okay, so it just took a long time to spin up the actual, probably the external hard drive that it's running on. But that is actually working now. So that's good. Okay, recording button works and it lights up when it's recording. So red is dead, right? Red is on. That's great. Okay, playlist. That's the last piece of this whole setup. And then I will be back to function, but everything will be done through Companion. So that is going to be 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 24. So, I'm sorry. That's not true. 20 and 16. 16 is playlist off. 20 is playlist on. So presets, playlists, start playlist is going to be 16. That's this guy. And stop playlist is going to be 20. So if I start now, the playlist, maybe it needs a second. Playlist start should be, oh, I got that backwards. Shoot. Preset playlist stop should be here. Start should be here. Start playlist. Started. Is there a way to have the start playlist giving feedback? I'm sure there is. Feedback, actions, start playlist, that's fine. Feedback. When pushed. That's probably not the right one, right? The feedback that I want is probably like, is it toggle or what is it known as? No. What is the preview function of the program lights? That's what I want it to do. This is just tally information. Okay. So can I do that for this? Feedback. Search. Tally. This isn't critical that the playlist shows it because I can see an indicator on inside vMix that the playlist is running. It would be nice to look down and see that the playlist is on, but it's not mission critical. Okay, and the other thing, okay, so I've got all the buttons programmed, right? Playlist off. So we can start the playlist, stop the playlist. I can now call pretty much anything, cut to anything that I want. I can mute it if I need to. Start the recorder. I can turn on the music if that's something that we want to listen to. I can fade it up and down, which is great. That's my primarily what I use it for. And the only other thing is I have a button that I want to have set to the PTZ preset 1, the PTZ P200. So let's do that real quick. Like I said, I'm well out of time right now. So let's go to connections. I'm sorry, buttons, presets, PTZ. And then I'm going to say, now look at all these options in here, man. Like there's tons of them. So we're going to say we want to do recall preset 1, which is this guy right here. And I want this to be programmed on button 12, which is this guy. All right, moment of truth. I don't know if I've saved this preset correctly, but I'm going to, for the sake of, I'm going to open Studio Monitor and move the P200 off center. Whoopsie. Oh, don't store. I'll move this off center. Okay. So, whoa, bye. All right, so we're going to call preset 1 here on the Xkeys. Okay, so I did not save preset 1 correctly, evidently. Let's go back to this real quick. I'll bring it around. Apparently, I need to go in and do my due diligence and save preset 1. Back out just a smidge. That's actually further than it was, right? Like I need a control surface or something. If only. All right, so it is calling preset 1. You can also set it up though, like there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. So we could set it up to do camera control, which means that you can up, down, left, right, all of that. And that's pretty helpful. Or to do zoom, to do focus. Yeah, all of that. So it's super handy to have all this in here. Encode transport. Wow, really? These are buttons? You can program these things? Why would you want to do all that? This is very specific stuff. Interesting. Advanced setup. They basically just ported out everything that we offer. What is this? Dashboard. Does this feedback the average bitrate onto the Stream Deck? No way. Okay. Here's the other thing is we can say surfaces and add an emulator. An emulator is basically just a web UI that then shows what your Xkey, what your Stream Deck configuration and companion would look like on a full-on Stream Deck. So if we load this then and we go to where was it here? Oh, here, emulator. And you click on emulator, it shows us all these buttons. Now, I don't know what this button is. So let's go back and find out what the settings are for this thing. Nothing. It's nothing. Why would you? All right. Well, anyways, I'm not going to pretend like I understand. It's fine. I'll investigate that and find out at another day what the story is there. But I did not particularly like the preset recall because my preset is wrong on the P200. And I'm pretty sure I said it before the show, which makes me think that there's a reason why this camera is in our studio. But let's see. Visca Actions Cam on standby or on. That's okay. So turn it off and on again. Analog audio. That's cool. Encode settings. Presets is probably where you're going to find the most versatility. I know that you can also, it's not limited to preset, like recall preset 9. You can change this to say preset 12 or something else, right? So you're not just limited to 9. You can do more than that. And then exposure control, white balance. I guess if you want to change or if you want to have a one push button, white balance mode. That's a cool idea. But man, I am super excited. Let me just look at the feedback options on this. I'm super excited that this is now all set up with Companion. The only other thing that I want to do is in the preview options, I want to change the preview, have feedback, preview state, background color, and I want it to be blue, right? I want to go here and say good, tally indicator, and I should do it here because this would be the one that would be on right now. So feedback, tally preview for input 25. Yeah, this is camera 1. So background color, I want it to be blue, and now it's blue. So now if I cut, oh, it didn't turn off. If I cut, I feel like mix 1, input 25, it should turn off, right? So if I have 2 and I'm on program 5, preview 1, and when I hit cut, they should swap. That's what I think. So this says tally preview indicates the input in which the preview. So if I say none on this, which is black, and I say foreground color blue, that's not a thing. Tally light indicator, full background, Oh, the text. I see. I see what I did. So that's only changing it there. Why isn't it changing it? But if I load preview, oh, okay, so that follows. Oh, what? All right, preview one. So it's following on the Xkeys now. I can put my overhead on here. Is it this one? Yeah. So it follows on the Xkeys, but see, preview one is still lit up because my camera is in preview one for the P200. Man, I'm gonna have to get my brain around that. So it does follow. It is confirmed. But here, because my camera, like if I cut over here, see how preview one is still on preview? Because look, in this shot, my camera is in this one too, right? So technically it's in preview. Either or, it's my P200's in preview. It's set up to go. So preview 3, feedback, background color should be blue, and preview 3 actions. This is 1 and 1 and 1, so that's fine. So if I say preview 3, yep, it lights up blue now. And if I cut, yeah, it switches. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's good. So then preview 4, feedback, good. If I switch and cut, nope, now preview 4 lights up. So this makes more sense because in this scenario, in preview, I have a P100 overhead and my P200 camera showing, right? This shot. And so what happens is it shows both cameras, both inputs in preview lit up on the Xkeys. So that's helpful. All right, preview 4 and then preview 5, same thing here. Feedback, input 5. Background color should be blue. And if I load it in preview, if I press preview 5, it loads previews 5 and 1 at the same time, which you can see. Oh, you can see it right here. Loads preview 5 and 1. And then when I cut it over, then it loads previews 1 and 4 because that's 1 and 4 are being shown. So cool. Very cool. Okay. So buttons 1 and 2 are program 6 and preview 6, which I'm not using just yet, but that's the plan. And once I figure out whatever that source was supposed to be, I think it was actually my starting screen, to be honest with you, and I can load that. That's fine. So my starting screen has music and everything associated to it automatically, right? So when I'm getting started on a Tuesday or Thursday morning, I come in and I could hit preview 6 or program 6 and it would start up right away. So maybe that's what I do. That is input number 7 is what that is. So if we go back over here to presets, vMix, mix 1, and we want to say preview 7 is going to be on button 1 and program 7 is going to be on button number 2. If I load that, yep, starting stream is now there. And I want to click on this and I want to say feedback, background color should be blue. And now it's lit up blue. And this one, feedback, background is red. So one moment, please. So you'll notice the audio comes up too, right? So that's that's actually a trigger inside vMix that I'm doing, is when I hit starting screen and I move that into program, it turns the music on and it mutes my microphone. And what's really neat is it changed the light on the audio on the Xkeys to blue. So for my microphone audio, remember when I use that button, now that I have all this over here, when I use this button right here, it turns blue when it's muted. So really cool. Another indicator that my microphone is muted. So very neat. Okay. I believe, folks, that is everything. So that is the full-on integration of vMix and Xkeys using Companion. And I really like it because I can now cross other programs, other modules with Companion into my Xkeys, which means one thing. It means I need a bigger Xkeys. So stay tuned. I'll save my pennies. If anyone from Pi Engineering, or if you know anyone from Pi Engineering Xkeys, I think they're here in Michigan, I'd give you a shout out. Maybe I could go over there and do like a factory walkthrough or something. I don't know. How could I promote you? But I would love to get my hands on a larger Xkeys. I have the 24. I've used the 60. It's also quite good. Would love to get an 80 or something bigger. So stay tuned, folks. Who knows what is next on the Bird Dog channel? I also left this text up the entire time, so that's really annoying. Hey, what's going on, Fritz? Nice to see you. Top bar is yellow text at the top of the companion buttons. Yes, correct. Will this session be available as a video on demand later? Unfortunately, I missed the start. Yes, it will be on my very own birddogjohn.tv YouTube page. So be sure to subscribe over there for everything we do here at the support office. The ramp of audio is available in central control, by the way. In aviation, the landing visual indicators, red over red, you're dead. White over white, yeah, too light. Red over white, just right. Ooh, I love that. The bitrate button used variables in the text of the buttons to display the text of a stream deck. Hey, maybe next time, for audience benefit, we go through the same effort with central control. Yes, Xkeys is here in Michigan. Okay, so officially that's going to be the end of my companion demonstration. Now, full disclosure, we have reached out to central control and to see, because they have another integration module like that, and that's why I kind of want to get another Xkeys, because I would love to go down this road with central control and pit them against each other. Joe DeMax we're friends with him through Bird Dog Jake, and he has been gracious enough to let me test pilot one of his versions of central control, and also expressed his disappointment that I was going to cover companion and not his. So the issue there is I'm just not as well versed, and Fritz has reached out to offer some education, we'll say, as to getting me up to speed. I have been playing around with it. I just honestly haven't invested the appropriate amount of time into making that work. So I do want to do that. We do want to get central control sometime. It is kind of like, I won't say it's up and coming. It's been around for a while. A lot of people use it. A lot of people love it, and I need to learn why. So very interested in doing that. I haven't forgotten about you, Joe, and we definitely want to go down that road and figure that out. I'm very happy with the integration of Companion in this regard. The feedback is great. It seems to be well thought out. StudioCast, if you're a company that made this module, or you made it for yourselves and made it available, thanks. That was very helpful, and it works really well. But now you know kind of how to map out the buttons and see how it all works individually. I discovered some stuff as well along the way, so hopefully you found that beneficial. But we do want to spend some time with a few other options in terms of integration, and we're going to talk about that. Now on Thursday, don't miss Thursday's show, because I'm going to redo, and we're going to have to redo some of this. I'm going to redo the way that I work inside vMix. Okay, workflows in vMix. And so we're going to talk about that. I want you to bring, though, your tips and tricks that I can integrate into my show to make this easier. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm cycling through cameras, right? So conveniently, I can do this now on my Xkeys through Companion. But what I'm doing is I'm cycling through cameras as sources. And what I'd like to do is keep those as inputs and create basically complete overlays. So it might seem redundant, but I want to clean up my workflow so that I have all my bits and pieces in buckets. So I have my audio sources in a bucket, and I have my backgrounds in a bucket, and I have my commercials in a bucket, and I have my lower thirds and my camera sources and my bumpers and my overlays, and all of that stuff gets gets brought in as individual inputs. But then I want to have a separate folder, tab, bucket, whatever you want to call it, to be basically the bulk of the outputs that I use on the show. So that's going to be Thursday's overhaul. We're going to do that together kind of live. We're going to try and figure out how to show you me doing that, and that'll be a lot of fun. So, okay. It's 1:45. I have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I definitely have to do that. Thank you so much to everybody who's hanging out with us today. Hopefully you have found this stuff helpful. I will make this, I mean, this is the bulk of the show, but I'll cut off the front and the end and make it its own individual video in a day or two. But hopefully you found it helpful. And yeah, I learned something. So if anything, somebody learned something, and that was me. So, you know, there you go. Take care of yourselves, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Be sure that you take care of yourselves and those around you. It's a crazy world, and we need more of it. So be well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time right here, birddogjohn.tv. Be sure to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And we'll catch you on Thursday at 11 o'clock. Cheers, guys. Bye.
That's a problem for future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy.